Well, there you have it. The end of the king season down here in Astoria, and it is definitely bittersweet. So this year, the reason why it's closing early, even though we have more kings coming back this year than we did last year, is because we have less of an impact rate this year than we have in years past. Um, so yeah, it's bittersweet because there were a lot of kings around today. But the good news is that there were also quite a few coho around. So don't get all bummed out. And what's honestly a shame, and we see this happen every single year, whether Chinook closes on the 20th or September 1st, regardless, as soon as Chinook closes, this place is an absolute ghost town. There's nobody down here. And it's really too bad because, frankly, in my opinion, I think coho eat better than Chinook. They are great eating fish. They don't fight as hard. They're not as big for pictures. But heck, we're here to fill the freezers. We're here to have a good time. So you can still fight Chinook. You can still land them. Still get a quick picture with them while they're there in the net. Keep them wet and then let them get on their way. But man, these coho are great eating. And this year we're forecasted to get 600,000 coho back, which is 3 times what we had last year. If we even get half that, that's still 100,000 more, or 50% more than what we had last year. It's fantastic. So probably starting here tomorrow, I'll start going through my gear and talking about how we transition away from Chinook and back over to coho. But right now, kind of reflecting on the season and what has happened over the last 20 days, I have learned so much this season compared to the last seasons. This year we've called it springer fishing. We've had to fish these fish completely different than what we have in years past. In years past, I'm catching a ton of Chinook at 16 on the line counters in shallow water, 10 feet of water, 12 feet of water. This year, that was not the case. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the river water is pushing out there into the ocean, and the ocean water has been so fairly warm that these fish are transitioning out in the ocean to this warmer water, and then by the time they hit the estuary, they're acting like river Chinook, like all the way up there in Longview. And so they're putting their bellies down in the dirt, and we've had a fish run totally different. So today, on an incoming tide, and actually the last 4 or 5 days, 6 days, incoming tide, 50 feet of water, dredge and bottom. That is not normal for what we have done typically over the last few years. Or maybe the case is that the fish have always been there, and this year we've just had to try harder to get them, because in years past we were just able to get them holding in the current at 16, 20 on the counters and done just fine. But this year is totally different. I've definitely had to work harder, work differently, and I've learned more this year than I think I have in any other year past. It just adds to the arsenal, and for years to come, we know how to catch them and things get a little bit trickier. So for you guys that are fishing upriver, even though it's closing here, it remains open upriver until September 8th, from Bonneville down to Rocky Point, I believe it is, right there, mouth of the Lewis. Make sure to check the regs. But it's just good news for you guys. We're hitting those bottom of the tide, those smaller tides. The fish will start loading up around Tongue Point, and then hopefully the next 4, 5, 6 days, those fish, as the tides get larger, will push all those fish up into your area. So that way you guys get a good shot at them before they close on September 8th. Now, for us coho guys that are sticking around down here, the coho fishing is already good on these soft tides. As the tides get bigger, it's going to pull more and more coho into the estuary. So the fact that we're already getting a lot of coho, some decent coho action, that's great. I mean, I'm really looking forward to these next few weeks. I'm going to be down here all the way through mid-September. I think my last day is September 20th, 25th, somewhere in there. So if you want to come coho fishing, come on down. It's a great time. You can experiment with different things like jigging or twitching, and you can fish live bait. Yes, it is legal, and I will be doing that here later on using steelhead rods and a 1-ounce bobber and a little slip float, just like we do for steelhead fishing. And that is some of the most fun salmon fishing I personally have had in a long time. It is an absolute blast. So I was waiting for another big coho return like this year to be able to go out and go do it again. This year I'm hoping to do it again. And starting tomorrow, I'm not going to run a piece of bait. I'm going to run strictly the Yakima bait spin fish and size 3 to size 5 spinners. And I'm just going to run hardware. Troll fast, cover water, find those active fish. These coho react very well to hardware. And the reason why I'm avoiding using anchovy or herring is because we will probably be releasing some Chinook and also wild coho. So because of that, I'm going to stay away from bait. I say that now. If they're only getting in on bait, then I'll force myself to go back to it. But I'm hoping I can get away with just running straight up blades and spin fish and just run that and catch fish after fish. That's the plan. We'll see what happens. But tomorrow I will be changing up my tactics and my locations. Once I get off the water, I'll do another one of these updates and tell you how it went. Thank you for tuning in during this awesome Chinook season. It was not one of the best, but it definitely wasn't one of the worst. It was a lot of fun, and today was epic. Lots of kings, lots of rods down. It was it was a lot of fun. So here we go, on to coho season. See you guys tomorrow. Later.